Hello everyone, my name is Max Murphy and I did my presentation on faith in the military. Next slide. Okay, serving in the military is more than physical killing and fighting. As an example, in Unbroken, a story of a soldier that was fighting in World War II. His airplane got shot down in the Pacific Ocean and he got picked up by Japanese fighters and put in prison for 2 years. When he was in prison, he overcame different struggles, like pain, emotional, and physical. Well, after the war was over, he got rescued, so he made it to the war because of the training he went to in basic training and how military trained him. Well, after the war, he got back to the United States. He became a Christian because he knew that God helped him to overcome the struggles. After he became a Christian, he decided to go back to Japan and find his captors and forgive them. Well, it's not easy to forgive someone that was beating you for 2 years. Well, he did that, so as we could see because of this example, that you don't have to go fight, you could be captured and become a Christian after you're captured. Next slide. Okay, when you join the military, you will have to make self-sacrifices. Next one. Okay, one of them is time through service. Well, the soldier doesn't give just his time so he would be away from someone. He just gives it because he wants us to be safe and protected. And he gives up his civilian life just so we could live in peace and just have freedom. Next slide. Okay. Giving up sense of freedom is also a sacrifice the soldier makes because when he joins the military, he gives up his time with family. The army tells him, or the military tells him what time he eats, what job he has, where does he live, and when he's in the basic training for the first 8 weeks, the military tells him what time he eats or sleeps, so he doesn't have a choice. Next slide. In addition to those sacrifices, he gives up his sense of peace. Well, what I mean by that is that the military, they can put him somewhere overseas, like South Africa, where they don't have peace, and so he would have to make hard decisions and see all the violence and with no peace. Next slide. They may even have to give up their life for their friend. In Operation Enduring Freedom, 17 soldiers got killed last year. Even though we're not even at war, they still got killed because they were fighting for our freedom. In the past 100 years, 5,731 soldiers died fighting different wars. Well, that's just wars without any conflicts around the world. Next slide. Okay. A soldier may have to make critical and hard decisions. Well, it's not that easy to do. Next slide. One of the main decisions he has to make is keeping the peace. How do you keep a peace in a country that doesn't have peace, or they do, but not many show peace? Well, keeping peace is not easy because some soldiers or the enemy, they may not cooperate with you, so you will have to make another hard decision. Next slide. When do you take someone's life? Well, you may have to take someone's life when an enemy doesn't cooperate and you're trying to save your friend because they're trying to kill someone on your friends. Next slide. Then you may have to save your friend before yourself. A good story of that is Black Hawk Down. When Black Hawk got shot down in Somalia in Africa, two soldiers asked a leader to stay and help the pilots that were shot down. Well, he let them stay. So when they stayed, they were fighting the Somalians, and they were all surrounded by thousands and thousands of Somalians. When they were fighting back, they got shot and killed, and they received a Medal of Honor when they got back to when the war was over, and they got back to the United States. Next slide. Okay, how the military can affect your faith? Well, there's two ways. There's negative and positive. First, let's start with negative. Well, the negative way is a soldier may draw farther away from God because he would think, oh, I'm in this war, my friends are dying, how will I still be believing in God? How there's God if I'm fighting this war and people are dying? Well, there's a way to stay away from the negative ways. A soldier can decide to go to church. When he goes to church, he surrounds himself with friends that would encourage him to stay closer to his faith. And by going to church, he can pray, read the Bible, and keep the negative away from his faith. Next slide. And there's a positive way. Well, the positive way is a story of Major Stroker. He was part of a convoy in South Africa when they're fighting the Somalians. The Black Hawk was down. He was a commander of a convoy. They were driving down the streets, and they were surrounded by shooting, and the Somalis were just shooting all over the place, from the top, bombing around. Well, his gunner, he got shot, and he fell through inside the Humvee. When he fell in, there was blood all over the windows, the floor, the seats, and they couldn't go any longer. So they decided to turn around to go back to the main base. When they got back, he decided to tell his soldiers to go back and get more ammunition and fuel. When he told them that, he decided to clean up the Humvee because he didn't want the soldiers that were coming in next to see the blood all over the floor and windows. Well, when he was cleaning, he had a thought in his head, I can't go back because if I do, I'm going to get killed. And he had a newborn child coming and his wife waiting for him at home. Well, all he did is just pray. So God just helped him to overcome the struggle. And his story is like Jesus. Jesus knew he was going to die, but he did all this stuff for us, but even though he knew he was going to die. Well, Sergeant Stroker, he knew he was going to die, so he did it anyways. He went out again. When they were driving down the streets were all empty. There was no soldiers around, and it was just empty. There was no dust up from shooting and cars driving around. Well, when he got back, he rescued the soldiers. When he got back to the base, he decided he would become a Christian or become a chaplain in the army. Well, he is a chaplain until this day. So this story is an example of how a Christian could be fighting one day and deciding to be a chaplain on another day. Next slide. Okay, how can you be a good Christian in the military? Well, one of them is avoiding temptations. Avoiding temptation may not be easy because you have friends that surround you and want to do stuff that you wouldn't normally do. Go to the bar or hang out somewhere, or do different stuff. Next slide. Well, you can avoid those temptations by going to church and praying and reading your Bible. And by doing that stuff, you can set examples for your soldiers that are around you. Next slide. And by going to church and reading the Bible, the soldiers may ask you, oh, where did you go last night? You weren't with us. And they would see that you're happier without any bars and all that stuff. Then it would be a good time to share your faith and to your soldiers, because they would ask you and you could say, oh, I was at church, oh, I was praying, oh, I was reading my Bible. So, yeah, next slide. Christian life is often compared to a soldier's life. What I mean by that is that 2 Timothy 2:4, no soldier gets entangled in civilian pursuits since his aim is to please the one who enlisted him. Well, a recruiter, he enlists us to be in the Army or Marines or Air Force. Well, God enlists us in his army, a Christian army. So we should go out and spread his faith and what he does for us. Next slide. Okay, for my service project, I went to a retirement home and I was talking to veterans and people and playing games with them. It was so different because I just went inside and all I felt was joy. It was so different. I was talking to them, which normally I wouldn't talk to anyone because just don't like talking to people. So yeah, I went inside and we were like hanging out, talking, and they asked us to come back because me and Jared and I went at the same time. They asked us to come back, so we were leaving. And there's a lady. She couldn't leave me alone. She kept following me around, and I was like, "Oh, I have to leave because I have to be home and take my friend home." And she was like, "No, you can stay. You stay at my house." By my house, she meant it's at the retirement home. Well, after that, I'm deciding that I'm gonna go back and help them again. Okay. Next slide. The question was, can you have faith in the military? The answer is yes, you can have faith in the military. You can have faith in the military. As I said before, Christian life is often compared to a soldier's life because in Ephesians 6, it tells us that our faith is always protected by the armor of God. Well, if our faith is protected by armor of God, we are also protected by armor of God when we go into battle. And our faith also gives us special weapons that no one else has. Special weapons to stand against